Hello, I'm Lisa Arana, and thank you so much for joining me for another Assemble This video. I am trying something new today. I pulled out some Distress Oxide inks to watercolor on Kraft cardstock. I just really love the way the opaque inks layered on top of the beautiful Kraft and created this really soft watercolor look. I'm featuring the October 2022 sentiment kit from Unity Stamp Company. It is the holiday Christmas set this year, and it features this really beautiful bird and floral branch image, plus lots of sentiments as well. I've gathered all my supplies and I've pre-stamped my images in watercolor friendly ink like VersaFine Clair on some Nina Desert Storm cardstock. I'll be using a bunch of Distress Oxide reinkers to recolor with. The colors are Vintage Photo, Scattered Straw, Speckled Egg, Ice Spruce, Shabby Shutters, Peeled Paint, and Festive Berries. Now I have all of my reinkers just kind of dabbed on a little bit of ink to start with on a laminated piece of cardstock. I'm just using this as my palette, and then I'm picking up just the slightest hint of ink using my aqua brush water brush pen, and then just brushing that onto my cardstock. We're not going to get a lot of shading or blending of colors with oxide inks. What I'm going for is that really soft opaque look over the Kraft. So this is really an easy technique for watercoloring because you don't have to really work hard to get a beautiful blend or a beautiful shading because we're just layering up inks. So I started out with the leaves. I started with a lighter color and then went in with a little bit darker of an olive colored ink. And then I'm moving on to the pine cones. I'm just using one color for both depths of color because you can just put the ink down and then wipe that away and use the water on the brush or squeeze just a hint, a little bit more water to kind of blend it out and cover the surface of the ink. Once it dries, you can come back in and of course add another layer of depth for color and contrast. So it's really easy to play with. I did the same thing with the flowers. I'm using Festive Berries and I'm focusing all that ink in the center, and then I wipe it off and I'm just using the water that's in the brush to kind of push it out to the edge so it pulls that ink out and kind of fills in the petal but leaves a bit of whiteness since it's Kraft cardstock, so you have a bit of a highlight that's built into the watercolor look by not filling in the whole petal. So again, you can let this dry and then add on another layer of ink on top to kind of create a contrast. As you can see, I have another card off to the side. I'm building two cards at the same time, which is a great tip. Since I have that ink on my brush, I'm just doing the same type of coloring on my second panel at the same time. And that way I don't have to finish one panel and then come back in and finish another panel after I've already inked up my brush. Next, I moved on to the birdie, and I'm using a variety of soft yellows and blues and a brown to kind of create this pretty wintry bird. I did the yellow first, and then I'm adding a bit of water to that brown ink that I used for the pine cones to kind of lighten it up. And then I'm layering that over, following the lines in the stamp to create like a variance in the dots and the shading of the wings and the breast of the bird and the head as well. You'll find that adding water to the oxide kind of changes its color as well. That's where that oxide kind of comes in with the ink name. So you'll kind of have to play around with this. As it dries, it'll kind of change and shift the color, but I think you'll find that you'll really like the look, especially with how opaque these inks are against the Kraft cardstock. This would look really different against watercolor paper or a white background, which kind of interests me. I should probably try it sometime, but I really wanted to use that opaqueness and that soft, smoky look over the Kraft cardstock. So finally, I'm just going to come in with that ice spruce and just add a hint of highlight to each of the flowers and the pine cones and the bird. If only I had the white Distress Oxide color, I probably would have used that instead, but I used what I had, which was the ice spruce, and that created enough of a highlight that made me happy. So that's how I ended up finishing off this image with the highlights. And finally, we're just going to create our background. I use the speckled egg color, really watered down, and I'm just creating a halo around the entire image. It's kind of my sky look, and it kind of creates this soft, opaque halo around the entire image that just kind of finishes it all off. Kind of creates a frame without being a frame. So that's how I ended that. Since this is going to be one of my Christmas cards this year, I wanted to elevate it and add a bit of shine and gold. So I grabbed some Kuretake, Gansai, Tambai watercolors, and I just created a bunch of gold splatters. I didn't really take care of where the sentiment was or the bird. I just kind of let it fly wherever it landed. And here are the finished cards. I just really love the soft look of the oxides watercolored on the Kraft. It's a very different look that I'm really enjoying, and the hint of gold splatters just takes the elegance up a level for my Christmas cards this year. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Plus, if you have any questions or a sweet comment, post below. I hope you're inspired to try something new, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.